Welcome back to the show. This is the AM show. Now, time for news review. And this morning, we're joined by Professor Isaac Boedi, Dean, Faculty of Accounting and Finance. You'd find him at the University of Professional Studies here in Accra. And as well, Wanda Madilo, Development Analyst and member of the NDC Communications team. And as well, Andrew Apia Dankwa, lawyer, spokesperson, Movement for Change. Gentlemen, and as well, I've got Kojo back here on the news review. Gentlemen, Kojo, why are you sitting like you're a guest? Sit up right and let's do the job.
No, I'm a guest.
Yeah, are you?
I'm a guest.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. It's a happy Friday here on the show. How has your weekend and your week been? It's been quite an eventful one, exciting one for you, Wanda, I'm sure. Akwatia by-election went in your favor, and so I'm certain that you're excited.
Well, Akwatia is an event to quickly forget and move on.
Really?
We knew that we were going to win. We worked hard at it, and victory was delivered. The MPP doesn't seem to know what's happening when it comes to politics right now in the country. They are so disorganized, weak leadership, they don't have focus, and they are busy trying to find a flag bearer to give them direction. So, in the meantime, we'll play the game proper.
I see. But what has been on your mind all week?
Yeah,
Like to address?
I have a very passionate appeal to make this morning. I've been listening to the Ridge Hospital lack of beds syndrome, and I think that it's becoming one too many. Almost every year you hear about a major hospital not being properly stocked when it comes to beds. But I have a simple proposal. You see, when you go to the conference center, there are a lot of tents there that get to be used only once a year or twice a year. And yet government is spending so much money in maintaining some of those places. What does it cost us to get a tent in all of these big hospitals? That is what we call transition, patient in transition, where you can put in beds if it is about the shelter not being available or the environment not being available, put in beds. And what are these beds? People are looking for all these sophisticated beds from abroad and all that. And yeah, we're spending so much in some of those things. I think that if we go to any of these people and we get the profiles, when I say profile, they will just have to cut those beds into a certain design and profile. Give it to our local welders in this country. Put about 100 of them together. Produce 1,000 each of them. We have beds. And these are only going to be beds in transition or patients in transition. Keep them in these tents. When there's an overflow or when there's an emergency and you don't have beds, take them there. Treat them for a while. When somebody recovers, then you swap them. I mean, I don't think that this should be a problem of national crisis to the extent that Parliament is calling for the minister to come and brief them, and they are going about themselves trying to see what's happening in the hospital. I don't think that we should get to this level. I sincerely think these are very simple problems. It won't cost more than 2 million Ghana cedis to fix over thousands of beds for all our hospitals. If we engage our local welders and artisans to fix some of these problems. I don't think that is a problem. In the various secondary schools that we went to before, some of those beds those days was even wood. Today you have the metal ones happening. And some of them are fabricated right here in Ghana. Why are we always looking abroad, looking for forex to go and import beds from China or from US or from wherever, when you can engage the local artisans to put together some of these frames and all that, and then you get tents into the premises of the hospital. Put these beds there. You can have about 200, 300 beds by the click of a finger. By 1 week, you can get 200, 300, 400 beds. If you engage about 100 of
But you're a member of the communications
welders.
team. Have you told your party?
No, this is now coming up. Parliament has just taken it. It's just coming up. But of course, I'm going to write.
The case in point currently, but Kolebu and many other big hospitals in this country.
I'm very passionate about this matter. I think that I'll personally write a memo on this matter because I don't see what is this about going to abroad. It's not the shortage of medicine. It's not the shortage of equipment. You are talking about beds. Oh, come on, please. We can do better.
That's quite an passionate appeal this morning. But Andrew, how are you doing? Okay, how's your week been?
It's been very quiet.
Were you hoping that NDC will win the Akwatia by-election?
I actually said that based on the characters of the two parties, what I'm seeing, I advise the people of Akwatia to go green.
Okay.
And they went green.
Okay.
It's not about, you see, for me, I think the politicians in this country, all of us included, we play too much. As in we see things as because you go to Akwatia and you go around Ghana, and we have done 32 years of this democracy. I think we have very little to show for it. We like the politicking, but when it comes to the real job, we don't like doing it. And that's why I'm very excited by the comments of my brother. Usually you don't find persons whose party are in power making this passionate appeal, which could be interpreted to be calling or taxing his own government to work. So I think that the time for us to work and as in limit the politicking and work is now. Indeed, let me wish you a lovely viewers a good one. I'm excited to see both yourself and Prof. Prof told me that he wants to make an announcement.
Okay.
Looking at but for the fact that you are a journalist and you are presumed to be neutral, I have said that yourself.
He's my good friend. I hardly will.
Prof, was there a discussion before coming here?
No,
okay, then I moderate the conversation. You insist and impress on Prof to make an announcement.
He told me.
He told you. I'm joking. They are betraying Prof. He told you
he's dressing in confidence, like Afafanto today.
As you come down,
Prof, how are you doing? How's the week been? What's on your mind?
Well, not on Akwatia, but it's on the report by Ghana Statistical Service report on the inflation. The Institute of Economic Research and Public Policy, we've conducted a critical review of the Ghana Statistical Service CPI and inflation report. And we have identified some shortcomings. While the report looked detailed and comprehensive, we've come up with some shortcomings that undermines neutrality, clarity, and accuracy of that report. I don't know whether I have a copy of that report. And if you read page 18 of the takeaways, the report continuously states that inflation is falling steadily and prices are falling. For us, this is misleading. Lower inflation doesn't mean prices of goods are falling. We recorded inflation of 11.5% or so, which means that prices are as high as 11.5% of the previous year. It's just month on month that we have seen a dip of negative 1.3%. So we are confused about disinflation and deflation. When you put a report in that perspective, you confuse your readers. When you talk about disinflation, let's use a car that is moving at a speed of 120 kilometers per hour, now slows down to 80 per hour. What it means is that the car is still moving forward, but at a lower speed. That's what it means. But when we also talk about the deflation, we are now looking at a car going on reverse. When you take the car to a reverse gear, the car moves backward. So we get confused with this report. The report also overstates the policy success of this administration. And for us, it's quite worrying. For a statistical service department, in their report, in page 5, they report that they claim that there's a drop in inflation, and that proves government stabilization program is declining as a result of this, the government delivering on its promises. When you put such words in such a report, it's more of advocacy, not more on statistical reporting. And other striking issue has to be with the numbers. The month-to-month figure, different from the food and non-food inflation figures. I'm sure readers of that report will take a closer look. You are telling us a figure of 1.3, negative 1.3% as a month-to-month figure. But when you do the computation between the food and non-food figures, you give us a weight figure of 42.7. Non-food, you tell us 57.3. It gives you 100%. So when you multiply this figure by what the report captured, it actually gives you 1.13 or so, not 1.3%. So Statistical Service will have a look at this report again. Other than that, policies will take decisions based on the figures that you give us, because out of the monetary policy also will be anchored on this. And it can become misleading. I'm sure
it's a good way to. Of course, we will, and a little later on the show, we'll spend some more time on that report, including the report that was also just released yesterday.
But we'll have time to talk about the Bloomberg report.
Of course, Bloomberg report is what I'm actually referring to. We'll talk about that a bit later. But Kojo, let's start with the newspapers. We'll get that out of the way, and then we'll come back to the numbers. I see Doug wants to crunch some numbers this morning. I have the Ghanaian Times this morning here. It says that protects aged population. Professor Akwatia calls for reform of social protection system. And the story is on page 11 of the Ghanaian Times this morning as well. We've got a photo of the Lands Minister as well, assuring investors you can invest in Ghana without fear. Story is on page 11. And as well, President here says that let the world hear about Ghana's success story. And this is the President speaking to the new envoys as well. There was one in yesterday. And police begin investigation into Akwatia assault. Kojo, what paper do you have?
Well, I have two. I have the BNFT and the Daily Gist. On the front page of the BNFT, diaspora buyers show strong interest in Forest Hill Estate. Okay. GRA embarks on taxation study visit. Chamber of Mines pushes back on impending mining reforms. A royal gesture, Dasibre Kwame the third donates life-saving equipment to 3 hospitals. We remain Africa's safest mining investment hub, Land Minister. Government signs deal with ISA to roll out solar irrigation pumps. And a story that is of interest to me. AGI raises alarm over looming collapse of rubber processing plants.
I see why that would be of interest to you because of your region. But this, I see the Daily Gist with you as well.
Yeah, the Daily Gist says NDC shops for petitioners to sack EC commissioners. So it comes with a photograph of Jean Mensah, Dr. Eric Bosman-Asari and Samuel Tete. NDC chairman Ashimore in hot waters. That's a story with a Singaporean businessman. Asenso Boachi takes on Mahama over $346 million of Ankonsa Road, Bruhaha. Arrest Azoka for slapping our chairman, MPP tells police. Former CJ, Attorney General in showdown at ECOWAS court. And Baomias Zongo fan feeds NDC communicator. So those are the stories.
Okay. Well, you have the Daily Guide.
Yeah, I have the MPP outlet Daily Guide. Indomie Ghana unveils Hero Park promo. MPP secured 200 million for Famco in Sawam Road project.
Why are you reading that as if you are choked in the throat?
No, this is very misleading.
Is it?
Very misleading, and I'll speak to it. Tokono, Deputy AG clash over 10 million ECOWAS case. Bahamas West in 18 new ambassadors. And then Bini conflict. 13,253 Ghanaians seek refuge in court.
Huge numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as well yesterday, petition against the criminal conduct of the NDC National Vice Chairman, Mr. Udu Sofo Azoka, and the party's constituency communications officer for Ibuakwa North as well, Abdul Wahab Amadou, during the Akwatia by-election. I recall that Richard Ahiagba presented that petition as well, and they also have been condemning a few things that happened in Akwatia. But you have my attention on the story that you want to clear.
Oh, no. I mean, there's an assumption that in Sawam Fanco project is a two-pronged what we call funding project. The flyover was done by African Development Bank, and the road is by GOG. So this business about we secure funding, what funding? The MPP has been in government for 8 years. That road, when they came to government, was one of their campaign promises. They started working on that road from the very day they came into office. It's taken them 8 years. You say you have funding? What kind of funding is that?
So I recall that the president, when he visited there, in his speech, said that, well, there was funding that was made available, so he doesn't understand why that project had been stalled. Had been stalled. Then the then roads minister, Works and Housing Minister, then issued a statement saying that, let's be clear, indeed there was some funding, but they secured a loan from Afrimax, and to a tune that has been stated in that paper,
$200 million.
$200 million, and that the president should not create the impression that the total amount that was needed for the completion of that project is what had been secured. So it looks like monies were not used properly. Do you have a challenge with it?
No, I have a challenge. The challenge is that the road costs a certain amount, an X amount of money. You secured funding for a portion of that X amount. Obviously, even if you use that fund that you secured, it won't finish the road. That's one. Number two, you could not even make use of the facility. Almost all facilities that come to this country come with a condition. For instance, they tell you that the project is 24 months. If you fail the 24 months, part of the funding may be retrieved. If you decide not to do something as a condition precedent, and the fund managers or the fund owners decide that they pull it out. So for 8 years, we're going to have a project that runs for 8 years. And you expect that there won't be variations in cost. At the time, what was the cost of cement and what is it today? So we've been cost variations.
I think he was just calling for transparency and accountability. That, well, this is how much the previous government secured, and this is how much has been spent, and this is how much we need to finish. When a previous government is asking for transparency and clarity, are they asking for too much?
No, nobody. The president spoke on his own accord. He was making the thing clear. If the MPP ever wanted transparency, when they were in government, did you know about all this? Is it just because they are out of government, then suddenly there's some transparency should be called for? So I don't think that, some of these mischievous and misleading newspaper publications should be given attention.
Andrew.
Because whatever is going to happen.
Wonder,
yes.
Didn't they secure $200 million for the project?
We say securing a facility is different from using the facility. For instance, Jomama just left, Singapore. He's made some advancements. Yeah. Some funds have been promised and all that. There is a condition for some of those funds to come in. Now, so you've secured it. Good. But how was it used? Is one. Yeah. How much do we need for the entire project? Is two. Right. At this point, we are not talking about what has been secured. We are talking about what is left to finish the project. Yes. Whether you secured, didn't secure, is insignificant at this point.
But have you read his statement? His statement says the president went to the road and said $200 million was secured for it.
Good.
But the road has not been completed.
Yes.
And he says that the $200 million is not the cost.
It's not the entire cost of the project.
The entire cost is $340-something.
Good.
And so the government, the counterpart funding was a $140-something million. That's the only clarification you wanted to see. You say that's not.
I'm saying that what the people need today is a road. Is that not it?
Yes.
Funding has been secured some years ago. That fund was not enough to complete the project.
Yes.
The president goes on the floor. Now you got in your counterpart funding, or you got the donor fund. Your part, which is the government responsibility, was not provided. What else should the president say? Okay. You managed to get funding for the project, which is fine, fantastic. You got it, 200 million. But you need, let's say, over 200 million. Your part as a government should have been provided to finish up the project. Your part was not provided. That's what we're talking about. Okay. As for the funding, it's coming and we're fine.
Okay. Let me just, you said the road has been, they started the road 8 years ago. I'm just reading here that the road was started in 2022.
So I said the entire project, first of all, it's a two-pronged project. I said there is the overflow, the overhead, which is the, what do you call it? Pokwasi interchange. That's one part of the project. The second one has to do with the road itself, which is the Nsawam Ofanko.
Are they not separate projects?
But they are two projects that came together.
Really?
Yeah, the part, because of the funding, the overflow or the overhead was arranged by a different funding source, and this one was by government and the other counterpart funding. That's what I'm trying to say. In any case, what difference, what sense does it make? I mean, just using the word, to do the overflow or the overhead, and then the underground beneath it is not done. The two were together.
No, but the interchange had the road underneath it done, or they were complete. All of that.
Which one of the interchange?
The Pukwas interchange.
Just up to a point. Yeah.
Yes, but I'm saying that the interchange itself, the roads around it and beneath it were done.
So in project conceptualization, you can have what you call phases or lots. The whole project has to do with the flyover and then the road connecting from Achimota. We call it Achimota Ofanko. Now it's extended to Nsawam because government is expanding the road to a dual carriage. Now, if it's so big, what you do is that you can cut it into lots. So there's lot 1 or phase 1. Phase 1 has to do with the flyover because you won't be able to go to the market and get, say, $1 billion to just come and do roads. So you would have carved them out in portions or in phases. So the one was the flyover and its surrounding roads. The other one has to do with the one going to Kumasi or Isawam. And that is to allow for funding sources to be able to come in. And I'm saying that the flyover was funded by the African Development Bank. However, the down one was government plus another funding source.
Afri-Exim Bank.
Afri-Exim Bank. So Afri-Exim Bank did their part of, the 200 million. Government of Ghana, who needs the project so much, did not do their part. Who should we blame?
Okay, I think you have quite a different sentiment from what the former minister has about the president, Andrew. So I'll just say, for the former minister says that the roads and highways minister, I think I quoted him wrongly, not the former works and housing, former minister for roads and highways. He says that for the president to question, a loan was taken for the project, so why is the money finished and the road undone? It's misleading. This is just all he wants to quote, that the $200 million was not intended for...
the worry, the concern is that the president was speaking as the project as a whole.
But the $200 million cannot finish as a whole.
No, hold on. I got funding for a project that is costing me how much? Say 200 million. And I got 200 million. I am supposed to contribute 100 million for the entire project to finish.
Okay.
Now, you have managed to spend the donor one. How about the one that you should provide for the project to finish? So it means that if you claim that you secure funding, you were supposed to do your part of the funding gap. Do you understand what I mean?
That was not the question the president asked. That triggered the former minister to come in with.
This interpretation he's giving can be imputed. It can pass. It can pass because it says that $200 million was secured. So if that money was secured, why is the project not done? Two things. The president might mean that 200 million is what was needed. If you have that money, why is the project not done? But the minister indicated that they needed $346 million to finish. That's the entire project.
Yes.
So Wanda is asking, where is the other part?
Yes.
Because if you secured your 200, where's the other part that you were supposed to finish?
Because when you went to borrow, your basis for borrowing was that I have my 140. Give me 200 to join. They have given you the 200. You fail to provide your 140. Who should we blame?
Andrew, please take a bite on this. These are numbers. I'll come to Prof.
Well, personally, I don't see anything. I don't see why the cuckoo of the former road minister pied, as in if I had to put it in local balance. Because I side with what my brother is saying. You see, there must be a reason why you go and say you want 200 million USD. I'm sure before they provided you the 200 million USD, you'd have shown proof that indeed you have your funds ready. Other than that, no financial institution would give you 200 million loan when they are not sure that you have your 140 million ready. Because then the issue is that then the 200 million without your 140 cannot fulfill the purpose for which the 200 is even being given to you. But even having said that, what we see there, so can they say that, supposing they don't even have their 140, that is worth 200 million? That's what we see there right now. Because for we, the citizens of Ghana, we don't really care about whether it's MPP or NDC that secured what. And then they want the contract to be between the government of Ghana and whoever they are securing the funding for. And what we need is rules. We need a system where our individual ambitions can be fulfilled. And so this needless argument about whether the president is misleading or not, for me, is neither here nor there. The point is you want to secure $200 million with the understanding that you have your 140 million available. So why is the road not done?
Question.
Why are people, because I use that road often. But this week alone, yesterday I used it. One, your cars are tricks are being destroyed. Your own health, because of the dust there. Meanwhile, 200 million loan that the people of Ghana are going to pay.
Well, Kojo, what I need you to do is search a little later to find out whether or not the amount that was needed, the plus or minus, whether the government of Ghana indicated that they had it, or that was also money they were supposed to look for.
In fact, let me just, because you see, it's practical finance. I've worked in the bank before.
Okay.
I was working for HSSB for 3.5 years. Usually, no bank would disperse this kind of money to you or any money for you if you can't prove that your counterpart funding is ready.
Okay.
Because then what it means is that even if they give you this, the purpose for which they are giving you this money cannot be fulfilled. And because it's a loan, when they give you this and you can't fulfill, then how are you going to pay back their money? And so they gave this 200 million with the understanding. I'm sure we don't have the facts, but with my small knowledge on how these facilities are handed over, with proof that you have your counterpart money available. So why is the road not done?
Okay. Prof, you want to take a bite on this?
Yeah, in fact, my good friend had been in the banking sector before. And anytime you even want to go and take mortgage, a simple calculation will be your equity contribution.
Yeah.
Okay.
What you are bringing on board. So a building costs 100 cedis. The bank will decide, let's give you 80 cedis. You also add your 20 cedis. That makes 100. They will ensure you have that money in your account before they disburse. Because if they disburse 80 and you're unable to fund the 20, you can't complete that project. The loan given to you will be of no value. Did that happen under this contract?
Yeah.
I don't have the contract. Again, contracts are subject to variations at a point in time. Let's assume the previous administration had the money and contributed their 1.something billion to the funds. As of today, if we incur variations, are we going to call the previous administration to bring the money? Who bring the money? So my point is that the debate about I have this money, you don't have, we should move away from this. You've secured the funding. Where is the rest of the funding? If someone has squandered the money, let's go after the person. Because the people around in Sao Paulo are looking for roads, better roads, to move their family, to move their loved ones. When they are issued, they can have access to hospitals and all that. That is all that we are calling for. You know, we should not forget that any time and as administration or administrator, you inherit debt, you equally inherit asset as well. So we should rather move away from the debate and complete the project to allow people to benefit. If we extend the discussion all the time, you did this, I didn't do that, we'll still stay on one stage. We'll never move forward as a country. We are not talking about counterpart funding. If the funds were secured, did the other institution inspect that the funds were in the account, the equity contribution? I can't tell.
Yeah.
This administration can tell. If someone squandered, we call the person. We'll let the nation know. But the bottom line is that fix the project. That is all.
Wanda, you want to respond to?
No, I just want to provide information.
Okay, good.
So yes, Afrexim Bank is contributing 200 million. Government of Ghana 146 million, making the $346 million.
Okay.
Then, as at the time the NDC took over, by September 2025, The previous government was owing the contractor $77 million. This is where the issue is. $77 million, which was cleared by the current government. After clearing, they needed money to continue. Government of Ghana now has to give them 14 million Ghana cedis in order to continue with the project. That is why the president moved that project from GOG funding to the Big Push, under the Big Push umbrella. Because the Big Push umbrella in this year in particular is to take care of all these projects that are outstanding. I mean, there are a lot of roads projects outstanding in you remember when the roads minister took over, he mentioned that about 60-something billion, 60-something billion was for the road sector alone. The loans, the debt in the sector alone was about 60-something billion. So we are not just talking small figures, we are talking very big figures for which the MPP did not make provisions for. As a simple, you should be ashamed of himself even issuing this statement. Why? Because you are the minister at the time. You knew the challenges that this road had. Do you know that this road had about 80 court cases, this road that we're talking about? 80 disputes over land cases, compensation, and all the things that comes with road construction. So indeed, there were challenges. We do know that there are challenges. You should be telling the country what challenges you face, not just because the president said you collected the money and you didn't spend it and we still have to spend, and that because of that has ruffled shoulders and you're issuing press statements. No, I don't think that's the way to go. Let's show some level of decorum when we are handling some of these issues. The challenge has been that the contractor has not been paid. 77 million was in arrears, dollars in arrears. New government comes to clear the $77 million. This road was supposed to be 2 years, 2022 to end in 2020 something. Now we're talking about 2026 May. That is how many years? So indeed there are challenges, and he should accept that there are challenges, and let's make progress than what the comment the president made.
You understand? So I mean, there's, like you said earlier, there's a need for transparency for questions to be answered. Because if the arrears was 77 million,
77 million,
and the government has to even pay a further 14 million. What does it mean? Does it mean that we've paid about 200 million to the contractor, and the state of the road is as it is today?
Very good question. That's what if I were him.
And so then what's Prof is saying? So if that's the case, then serious accountability has to be called for. And if there's a need for heads to roll, the heads must roll. Because this thing about talking and accusation, it doesn't solve anything.
Okay. Prof, do you sense anything like bribery or anything? Are you smelling it somewhere or something?
To be honest with you, I have no chance on the document.
Okay.
And it was just today that we are discussing this. I have not had time to look at the numbers, the counterparty, commitment and all that. But the point is that when we start talking and we don't take action, people suffer. That's the bottom line. But in this part of our world, everything will turn everything to politics. The issue's very clear. You have money allotted for a project. You are supposed to contribute your part. The previous administration could not finish. New administration comes in. You can do your investigations and find out what the problems and challenges are. At the end of the day, let's not forget that administrations are falling because of roads. So, as the road cost, we don't know. Isn't this, and they will benefit at this stage. If they're able to complete the road, it goes into their credit. So the point is that these counter accusations and all that must cease at a point in time, and we focus on the project. That's all. There was something interesting on the conflict at the northern part, which was, I don't know whether I might have a bite on that.
Okay, well, Andrew, let's start with you. What's on the Daily Guide has your attention? I mean, I think because you're a lawyer, you probably will gravitate towards the Tokono and the Deputy AG clash.
You see, the whole Tokono issue makes me very sad. It exposes serious weaknesses in our constitution. And the reason why it's sad is, for 32 years, nobody had the courage to question the weaknesses. I mean, it's so easy to remove the CG. It shouldn't be the case. And for a country that claims that it wants to be governed under the principles of the rule of law, for we to have a constitutional provision that says that to remove a very sensitive position as a CJ, it will be held in camera and we can't, as in, it's not good enough. Having said that, I said Tokonu wants to take Ghana to ECOWAS. For me, it brings very interesting issues. Does ECOWAS court have the power to interfere into the constitutional provisions of our country? Because I thought that we are sovereign. I still hold that we are sovereign. You understand? And so the matter is in court.
It begins and ends with the fact that we are sovereign. I thought she specifically went to ECOWAS because of the fact that we are a member state.
But then the issue will be whether or not ECOWAS, because what she's saying is that human rights has been violated. What rights is she speaking about? She's speaking about her right to fair hearing and the fact that a case has been brought against her and she did not even know the prima facie, the reasoning. But you have a constitutional provision that says that everything in the handling of the petition of the CJ's removal ought to be held in camera. Now, then the issue then becomes, does ECOWAS court have the power to interfere in our constitutional issues? That would be for me, because you have human rights, but there are some rights, are they justiciable? Are they rights that can go to court? And if that's the case, what prevents them from going to Ghana courts? What prevents them from going to Ghana courts? So, like I'm saying, for me, those are the issues. They are interesting issues. I don't want to go into because it's in court. But per my opinion, I will be very surprised if ECOWAS court can have the power to enter into our constitution and make decisions because the constitution mandates from the sovereign will of the people. And by joining ECOWAS, we do not subjugate ourselves.
I'd be very surprised that the Chief Justice would know that ECOWAS would not be able to, I'd be very surprised. Would you not, Prof? Would you not be surprised?
How many applications has the CJ not sent to the Supreme Court that have been kicked out? You see, because
so one thing, does maybe two questions we're asking. Does ECOWAS have the power to sit on this matter? And if they do, will it be binding? These are two things, are they not?
Exactly.
So of course they can they not?
So let's understand the extent of the jurisdiction of the ECOWAS court. So they can deal with the international law matters between member states. And they can also deal with the individual cases where human rights, justiciable human rights breaches have been occasioned. I understand. So yes, so they can hear the case. But per law, does ECOWAS have the power, this jurisdiction that have been granted ECOWAS, to make counter provisions or counter statements or judgments against the clear terms of the Constitution of Ghana by joining ECOWAS and by subjecting ourselves to ECOWAS court in some matters? Does it mean that we've relinquished our sovereignty? Because for ECOWAS, so supposing ECOWAS grants her release, what will be Ghana's position? There are serious issues here. You understand? And I think that we need to have a discussion about them without necessarily going into the merits or not of a case. Because we signed to join ECOWAS. What does it mean? Does it mean that we've subjugated our sovereignty and want to go under ECOWAS jurisdiction?
Is this not a debate that existed long before, even before
Probably.
This, where they ask, is international law?
Well,
ask that question anyway.
Yeah, but international law has been proven to be law. But in this specific case, where the rights the CJ is claiming, her rights that has been breached, are rights that, well, she stated those rights, the rights that for which she wants the ECOWAS court to have a hearing on. One, that they say, based on some prima facie case, she has questions to answer without her knowing what those prima facie cases, and because of that, her rights have been breached. But this is a case where the Constitution of Ghana is also saying that every matter within the petition ought to be held in camera. That's a clear position of our.
That's a hurdle that we probably would face.
Can ECOWAS make a proclamation that is adverse to the clear terms of the provisions of our Constitution?
Okay.
And if they do, what does it mean? Does it mean that because for ECOWAS to make a provision, a proclamation against the clear terms of our provisions is to more or less attempt to question our sovereignty.
Okay. Now, her removal has brought to the fore conversations about petitions on existing government appointees already. You recall that both in March and in April, there were some petitions against the removal of the EC chair. Then there's a counter petition that the president should not proceed with these petitions. On the Daily Gist this morning, it says that NDC is what? Shopping for what?
Petitioners to sack EC commissioners.
Wanda, explain.
Oh, this is reckless. This is just a reckless publication. Have you heard of any announcement that bring up petitions for EC?
You'd realize that usually in this country, even when the thing is a rumor, it really amounts to something very, very substantial.
It's public knowledge that the conduct of the EC in the last few years have been brought into question by well-meaning Ghanaians, including the NDC. In fact, right in this studio, I've had MPP, appointees, former appointees, of course, side with me that the EC should be investigated in this matter, especially after a Blekuma story. They have joined in the chorus of the EC needs, to be reset. Or
Are you sure they have joined?
I mean, they've joined. Google it, you'll find a lot of them speaking to that issue, questioning the independence of the EC and all.
In Blekuma, because of the call for the rerun.
Yeah, the rerun. They claim that it was only to be done in 3 areas, and then the EC eventually did it in 19 areas, and that they were incompetent and all that and all that. I don't want to even go and dignify this story. That's not where my focus is. The CJ story is where I want to speak to. With the CJ story, you see, she has gone to the ECOWAS court. The crux of the matter is that when she went to the ECOWAS court, our Attorney General questioned the legitimacy, otherwise the jurisdiction of that court to hear such a matter. And while the AG was waiting for the ruling on that matter, then she goes to court to say that the ECOWAS court should go ahead and pass a ruling without, or in absentia, without the government of Ghana, which is the AG, filing his response in the earlier petition. So she took a petition. We challenged the jurisdiction of the court to hear the matter. That ruling must come first, because it will be counterproductive to challenge the authenticity of a jurisdiction or the jurisdiction of a court over a matter. Then in the same vein, I am appealing to the same court whether to look into the matter or not to look into the matter. If I question the fact that you don't have the locus to stand on my issue, I cannot go back and respond to what has been brought to you. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I'm with you.
You are reprobating and approbating at the same time. You are causing a problem for yourself, asking the court to resolve it. So the AG felt that it was unnecessary. If I am questioning your legitimacy, why should I, respond to the earlier petition? Rule on that one first and say that you have jurisdiction. Once that is clear, then I can come in. So I don't see how this matter became, a topic for Daily Guide and Jelly.
Do you agree that do you agree with the theories or the conversations that her removal really has brought to bear the weaknesses?
I don't think so.
You don't?
I don't think so. You see, we should come to a point in this country where people are underperforming and you remove them. The removal process may be questioned. But what do we have in the Constitution? Do you have any other way? Didn't the Constitution envisage that there will be a day that a sitting CJ or president or chief or speaker would have some of these issues and they have to be removed? Yes, the Constitution envisaged that, and therefore procedures are in the Constitution to guarantee this. What is the concern of the people? That she wasn't removed, she was removed illegally, or that the positions were contrived,
that
or
the
somebody did something?
were too trivial, they are too lightweight enough.
You see, when you talk that way, then when you talk that way, then you make those who sat on the issue look stupid. That's what it means. Because this same CJ, as she is now, was at the same Supreme Court. And her colleagues, as part of the people who sat on the case, she doesn't trust their judgment any longer. Is that what it means? Or you don't trust the judgment of those other judges?
But our judges have always sat on cases not because they think that there are weaknesses in whatever case that people bring. Of course, it's very adversarial. So they are not even, it's not inquisitorial.
You've heard our cases being thrown out, right?
Of course. I mean, and it will be thrown out based on the law.
Yeah.
And not just the law.
Not because they think the law the provision in the law is weak or strong.
Yeah, but
they will just because of the law.
Exactly. So if it's weak, it's weak. The law also puts a weight on the volume or the value or the weight of the petition you're bringing.
So the people who
they
are
call it frivolity.
So the people who are arguing that if the provision is a bit too weak for the removal, does not make those who sat on the case.
No, but what do we have now? What other law do you have? If you say you don't want to go by
and that's why there's a
I'd love Prof to come in.
Yeah, I don't know. The law is the law.
It's the law.
You have been told the law is the law.
No mention put CGC is the former CGC.
The law is the law. I'm just waiting to get the end of year report on rule of law across the world. They'll publish the rankings. Whether our actions based on this issue will validate that report or otherwise. I don't know the score Ghana we are going to get for the next ranking. And I'm sure this issue will feed into that report when we get it. And then we can interrogate whether we took a right decision or not. The sacking or the removal of CJs in Ghana, often rare. But they have consequential events on democracy and the independence of our judiciary. Two issues: accountability. If she was removed based on misconduct, abuse of office, then the signal that no one is above the law. Take it. But if they remove her purely on political grounds, then it undermines the independence of the judiciary. That's all that the whole thing is about. But we wouldn't have had issues as a country or individual talking about this if these were not enshrined in the manifesto of the NDC. And you go into the manifesto, they had categorically stated the people that will be removed.
Oh, they did? I thought they said they'll reset.
I think the reset.
I thought they said they'll reset the judiciary.
Let him speak to the categorically.
No, I'm saying.
Wonder. You're such a wonderful man this morning.
He's a wonderful man.
You're a wonderful man. Let Prof speak.
The reset agenda. Let me put in the reset. What are they going to reset?
When they came, they have appointed some judges to the Supreme Court. Could that amount to resetting?
The police service, IGP, was taken off. Now we are talking about these people, and I'm sure my good friend Wanda said, no, don't give credence to this story.
Because I want to talk on this.
Don't give credence to this story. NDC shops for petitioners to sack EC Commission. I didn't write this. But you see, this is a country we find ourselves. It starts like this. The next month or two, don't be surprised that this will be validated. We'll be shocked. So the question is the next target the EC? And Wanda made very good submission that some people had also corroborated or supported this stance. That EC, they have not done well based on Ablekuma issue. What about Akwatia?
Yeah, Wanda, what
That's
about
called
Akwatia?
good point for Akwatia. And I've praised EC.
What about
we are not the one calling
they did a good job.
the removal.
So those who said, will they come and say, oh, EC, take credit? And would that nullifies that position? They have to be told. So, yes, we can ignore this statement, these fleeting headlines. But the point is that give yourself some few months and we'll come back here and talk about EC saga.
Kojo,
Wanda is a very fantastic guy.
please give me a minute to stay on this one. Kojo, you were in Akwatia. Did you hear people praise the EC that, oh, that was a very well-conducted election and all of that?
Well, yeah, I think from the way it went.
Wanda, just maybe. Were you not in Akwatia, Wanda?
Yes. No, but again, the election was fair. Yeah, the election in Akwatia was very fair, right?
Yeah.
But you see, the problem.
It was fair.
Elections,
it was fair.
Very fair. I mean, very.
And the EC should not be started.
You see?
We haven't.
Was it the same EC that conducted it?
The problem You see, you shouldn't discard this headline.
That NDC is shopping for.
You shouldn't.
You
You shouldn't discard this headline based on statements that very senior members of the NDC have made. And case in point here is the chairman himself. The chairman has said this year that the EC must be removed. On so many interviews, that the EC must be removed. So if you have the chairman of the NDC say openly that the EC must be removed, what kind of impression does it give? My personal view is that, you see, you take the EC's performance in whole, and the former president Nado created issues for the legitimacy or for the belief of the people of Ghana in the ability of the EC to dispense with her job. She's done mistakes. That arguments can be made for her removal. You understand? But immediately, the leader of the ruling government, as the chairman of the NDC, makes a statement to the effect that the EC must be removed. Then it doesn't matter how genuine a petition may be. You struggle to convince the people of Ghana
tinted
about the legitimacy. And also, you are making a very good point that my brother Wanda didn't seem to understand. So we have the law. The law has given ways in which the CJ must be removed. We can't do nothing about it. But we are saying that we are resetting. And in resetting, we've created what's called a constitutional review committee. Probably let's say that the CJ has been removed, fair and square. But the reset agenda will not be completed or will not be complete if it does not culminate in we creating the strong or what's called reviewing the constitution to ensure that issues that borders on transparency. Because people are making arguments that the CJ's removal was by the president, it was part of a big plot. They'll say that because you have a constitution that makes the whole system very opaque due to no fault of your president.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, no, but that's the law. Due to no fault. But the point is that you have a constitution that is very opaque. That says that when you are moving the CJ or anybody under Article 146, like happened to Charlotte Osei also, it's very opaque.
But is Charlotte Osei under Article 146? She's a lawyer.
Yes.
She's under 146.
Yes. Okay. Article 146 deals with not just with the CJ, but with all Supreme Court judges and people who hold positions that are akin to this, like EC, Shiraj boss, all those people. When you want to move them, they all move under Article 146. And you have Article 146 that is so opaque. That says that it must be done in camera. Everything must be done in camera. It gives the impression as if the president is just a conveyor belt, like Nanado said. But we know that they can weaponize it the way our politicians are. They can weaponize this, find a petitioner to petition, then they will go through. So we need to look at
this is true. Your chairman said that the EC as it is now is not fit for purpose. That's the exact progress we're making.
For the avoidance of doubt.
That's the exact progress.
So for the avoidance of doubt,
yes.
I want to read for you what the NDC promised the judiciary. You see,
we're clear what the NDC promised.
He went into a very grey area by saying that, Prof, that we promised that we're going to remove.
We've already tidied that up. We've sanitized it. Your chairman says that the EC is not fit for purpose.
Why are you putting me on the line for the chairman's position? For the records.
But do you think? I mean, do you think that the EC is fit for purpose now?
The EC?
Yes.
I don't have the power or the capacity to remove an EC.
But you're a citizen. No, of course.
I agree. No.
What's your assessment?
What's your opinion? My assessment
What's your opinion?
Of what?
What's your opinion?
Are you excited with the EC position right now? Are you excited? Are you okay?
No, I moderate.
So I won't ask questions. So that's fine. So there is at no point has the NDC or the government issued any public notice to shop for whatever for the removal of the electoral commissioner. Yes, indeed, in opposition and even in government, some individuals, and anytime they speak, they say, oh, in my individual capacity, how I see it, it has never been a party's position. Otherwise, then we should have put it in the State of the Nation's address or the budget to say they were going to remove EC. We didn't do any of those.
But currently, have you heard anything in your government that the petitions that came in March?
The law is the law. If a petition comes in, we'll follow through. the process of looking at evaluating the concerns of whoever wrote the petition. And if it is something that, there are well-meaning Ghanaians who sit on this
But you know that the law is
that should be fine.
such that it's predictable.
Yeah.
So on the face of it, you can see.
An electoral commissioner has been removed in this country before. Ghana didn't die.
So it's not.
So for me,
Okay,
when it comes out,
let's go to
the law
Bingiri.
will take its course.
No,
Let's go to
but
Bingiri.
before, I need lawyer to help us with this. Lawyer, the Article 146 says that the committee should recommend to the president whether the CJ should be removed from office. Does the office extend to his or her presence on the bench of the Supreme Court?
As to whether she still remains
a judge.
Someone yesterday asked me the same question.
That's a very sharp question. I like to you because the CJ is both administrative head and
professional.
I think that she has been removed, in my opinion, is a removal from the
office.
The bench, yes.
Yeah,
not from the
from CJ office. From the CJ office.
Yes.
I think as a superior court judge. That's what
I think we need to interrogate it because
because you see, so the whole Article 146 is removal of what's it called? Superior court. And they make special provision for the CJ only because what's it called? Only because she's the head. And then in that 146, the person that does all the decisions is the CJ herself. So then the point is like, what happens if the CJ herself then commits the misconduct, which would have necessitated, if she was not CJ, would have necessitated her removal also as a Superior Court judge. And so if she's done a misconduct, because the offense is the same for whether you're a CJ or whether you're a justice of the Superior Court. You understand? So if you are removed, she's not just being removed as CJ. She's being removed as a court from the Superior Court of Ghana. And so once she's removed, in my opinion...
It is.
So
especially if you look at how the person is even appointed, the process.
The process, yeah.
The journey to becoming the CJ, it nearly amounts to your removal from the bench. Yeah. Yesterday we had this, he threw this question to the lawyers, and I'm glad that you were here, because you're here today, because he's been wondering, shouldn't not just be the fact that the administrative position as a CJ, so that she still remains as a judge? I tossed it around and I thought that it will amount to him entirely, because you are a Supreme Court judge first.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what even qualifies your person to become.
The measure is punitive.
Yeah,
it's punitive.
And you see, and whether you are CJ, so they do not give special offenses for the removal for CJ. It's the same. It's removal of Superior Court judges. And then the offenses are one for misconduct for the three reasons.
But Professor Apiejetia differs from your.
But he can differ.
He says that the case was not against her as a justice of the Supreme Court, but as a Chief Justice. The procedure for removing a Chief Justice is slightly different from the removal of the Justice of the Supreme Court.
And I'm saying that
as it stands now, Justice Tokonu can go back and assume a position as a Justice of the Supreme Court.
I disagree vehemently because...
Who said that?
A prof, my own lecturer, he taught me, I'm a proud student of prof. But I disagree vehemently with
your lecturer?
With my own lecturer. Fantastic lecturer. Okay. Fantastic lecturer. Because the only difference in the procedure is as a result of I desire not to breach the principle of natural justice. Because when you read Article 146, you know the procedures. It's not the president. It's not the president who determines the prima facie case. It's the CJ. Now the CJ, one of the reasons why in the case of a CJ it has to be the president is for reasons of what's it called, natural justice. But at the end of the day, if the intent of the framers of the Constitution was just to remove her as CJ, as the administrative head, then there would have been special reasons for removal, different from the other justices. But if you are at 146, it's the same, what's called, grounds. The same grounds. The only difference is because she is CJ, there's the president that determines the prima facie case and all those issues.
Interesting.
Interesting conversation.
Quite an interesting discussion between legal brains. That will come up.
I feel if you're Vice Chancellor, and for some other reasons you are removed. It's just administrative. You also come back to classroom.
To lecture. Yes, yes.
There's no professor
So-
there.
No, it can happen, but I'm saying that it's a different conversation.
Yeah,
Someone asked me that question yesterday.
Yeah.
I could not.
This is jurisprudence, right?
Yeah.
This is a topic under jurisprudence. Okay. So
So if a president is okay, let's
So you let's go to-
let's give you
let's go to
Let's
Bin
go to-
Yuri. Yes, let's go to Bin Yuri. So we're in this country and it started with just 1, 2, 3, and we've been counting. A good number of persons have lost their lives. And what's even more disheartening is that we have over 13 persons seeking refuge in Cote d'Ivoire. I would not even think in my mind that we can get to this point where yesterday in the news, we saw tents, we saw that where the NADMO is providing some sort of release for them, the people of Cote d'Ivoire as well, accepting them and making sure that they are okay. Yesterday, as of the point of this case, I'll just give you a background that there is an apostle who is seeking to broker peace between the traditional leaders of these groups who are fighting over this land, as a story has been reported widely. But we have 13,253 Ghanaians seeking refuge in Cote d'Ivoire, Prof.
We don't need to ignore this story. It started calmly, and now it's taking a different turn. To wake up in the morning to see Ghanaians seeking refuge in another country, Cote d'Ivoire, not any other country. If you had told me US, UK, we will agree, at least for better lives. But this is Cote d'Ivoire. We should not ignore the production capacity of these young people. Check the age bracket of those who are seeking refuge. Apart from the kids and the elderly, we have a chunk of them who are youth, good age. So what happened to production for our country? Already, we are depending on other countries for support in terms of goods and services. But this is a period where productions, are enhanced. Go to the northern, around this time, people will farm to bring products from the north to the south. So you have such number of people who are moving, seeking refuge in other parts of the world, beyond Ghana. That's a worrying situation. Because these youth, if they stay in where they find themselves, could equally contribute to production. And that can enhance our growth as a country. We don't need to go outside to bring product and goods, tomatoes and the rest. But today, we are talking about 13,000 Ghanaians seeking refuge in Cote d'Ivoire. I think our president must look into this issue. Security agencies must step up their game. We can't allow these things to fly like that. We should find a better way of resolving this conflict. I don't know what is happening, but if you look at the entire space, what is happening in the Baku area, what is happening in Sola, what is happening in other parts of it becomes one too many. And I don't know what is triggering or what is causing all this. And we need to look at this very well.
Wanda.
No, in the history of this conflict, the chief sold the land without consultation. In fact, that's why our Land Act comes into question sharply, because you cannot, as a family head or chief, sell a land without the consent of all the other family heads and members and elders. So we are told that the land was sold to a developer. The developer, of course, he should have also known that selling a land of that nature, you need to consult. You need to engage the town people. He also didn't do that, and he decided to go into developing the land. And we are told that there were some altercations, and then there were exchange of gunfires. Some 16 or so. How many people died? 16 or so people. 31.
Is it Beniri?
Yes. 31.
But do you know the size of the land they are talking about?
I'm not too sure. What was it?
According to this is like a land that you could only place a container on.
You can only put...
Yeah, a container on it. Yeah. Oh. That's it.
So now, but this brings again, you know, in focus some undercurrents that were already existing. And you see, chieftaincy issues in this country are becoming one too many. And I think that government must begin to put its feet down on some of these issues. Because, you know, a land of only some 14 by 14 in stretch feet should not bring us to this state where over some 30,000 people are seeking refuge in Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso and all that. Again, it also places a bigger pain on the lives there because farms have been abandoned. Only that we are hoping that it doesn't bring scarcity of food, you know, supplies down south and all that. Families have been displaced. Government will now have to spend a lot of money relocating some of these people. The chief's palace has also been burnt in the process and all that. So, indeed, we need to find a lasting solution to some of these crises. And it's worrying. I didn't think that that conflict could bring this kind of chaos. In other words, the chief was so unpopular, or they were looking for him ahead of this conflict and all that. So, but I'm happy that NADMO, you know, stepped in. Government of Ghana has stepped in.
Right.
And I'm told for the last 1 week there have not been any gunshots or anything of the sort. The people will be repatriated back to Ghana, and then we can make progress. But there will be some punitive measures because that's a crime being committed and all that, and we can make progress.
Andrew, we're moving on to the other major big stories today, but I'd like to just a few seconds as well talk about this Minyiri conflict.
Flaw on the part of national security. Because like Wanda rightly said, I don't think the underlying cause really will be that container size. In fact, what is happening is akin to a friend of mine who did a divorce case where what triggered the divorce was the couple fighting over how they press the peppermint.
One that's from the bottom, one that's from the middle.
I understand. So certainly, when you have such a divorce, you should know that there is a deep-rooted underlying problem. So the question is, we have
so that container size land was the trigger.
Exactly.
Under
national
current.
security. If national security was working, they are too reactive. You understand? They ought to have known that, listen, there was something brewing there. Now, because of, we have 31 of our computers dead. We have Ghanaians now staying in Ivory Coast because they are scared. It's not good enough.
Well, let's move on to our major story for today. Now, inflation continues at a lowering streak, dropping again to 11.5% from 12.3% in July. Are we going to see a single digit soon? Are these signs or these gains reflecting the market price? And also, Ghana Cedi is now the worst performing currency in the third quarter as released by Bloomberg. Why is that for a currency that in the recent times touted as the best performing? And joining me in studio, or us in studio, is Isaac Kofi, lead data and research analyst. And Kofi likes to crunch the numbers. Kofi, even before you came in, Prof has been disagreeing with a few of the things, but put it into a better perspective so I can get more questions to ask him.
Well, in fact, the Cedi has actually gone through different phases this year, from being the best performing currency, according to Bloomberg, in the second quarter of the year. Now we are talking about the worst performing currency. And how did we get here? We decided to track how far the Cedi has come since the beginning of the year. And as you can see, we've come, so far. In terms of where we are, we began the year with $1 trading somewhere around 14 Cedi 70 per Suez. And at a point, we saw that massive appreciation in the Cedi. You see this huge drop in terms of how steep it was in May and April, and then also in June. Cedi has actually enjoyed some level of stability, and we've been doing the calculation. In fact, if you take away the depreciation we are seeing so far, until then it had appreciated by more than 40% since the beginning of the year. And now you can see what the Bank of Ghana governor calls blip. And many have said that this can't be a blip because it's been continuing for some time. And many have said that, well, usually you say that external factors are not favorable, and that is why you can have some pressures on the Cedi. But this time around, almost all the external factors are in our favor. Gold prices are rising, which is good for the Gold Board initiative. You see in the U.S. as well, the Fed is about to cut monetary policy rate. That could ease, the pressure on the dollar. Donald Trump himself has been in some independent or autonomy fight with the Fed bought Jerome Powell, which hasn't really been, good for the dollar, looking at its, index on the global market. So many will say that, well, looking at the external side, things look stable. And we know that the fight between Israel and Iran is also down, and Russia and Ukraine, though, still elevated, but it's still looking good when you look at it on the external side. Then people are saying that, well, if you have external side being so good, it means that there's something wrong with the economy internally. So what did we do? We decided to check the performance of the Cedi in the last month. In the last 1 month, how has it performed? You can see the stepwise movement, and majority of the story has come from depreciation. And according to Bloomberg, the reason why the Ghana Cedi is currently the worst performing currency is because it depreciated by some 13% in the third quarter of the year. It could be that in the fourth quarter, maybe we might see some sort of respite, and it could actually get back that position of being the best performing currency. But let's try and understand how the Cedi behaved in every year. What we've done is to track how the Cedi has behaved in the last 10 years or the last decade. And what we know is that in terms of the first quarter, this is where we have some level of uncertainty, right? So between January and March, the Cedi goes through a lot of uncertainty because we are coming from a new year. People aren't so sure about how the economy or that fiscal year will go. So a lot of uncertainties in the first quarter. Then when you get to the second quarter, when things begin to stabilize, the Cedi gains some sort of stability and sometimes appreciation. That was the point. The second quarter, that was the point that we got that best performing currency tag in 2025. Then in the third quarter is where you have the pressure because people are looking at the festive season. They want to import ahead of time, and I'll show you the import data. This is where pressure comes, and this is the point where we are currently. We are almost getting to the end of the third quarter because we are in the 5th day of September. We should start the fourth quarter in October. So this is where pressure usually mounts on the Cedi, and we have seen that the pressure currently that we are seeing is not coming from the external side. It's more internal. Why? Because there's something that I'll show you very soon. But many have said that, well, do not be afraid because in the fourth quarter, you can see some sort of lifeline. And we are currently doing this analysis between the band that the president gave that he believes he's spoken to the finance minister. He's also speaking to the Bank of Ghana governor, and they have told him that the Cedi's natural level is between 10 to 12. And so this is what the president told us. He was worried, like many Ghanaians were, when the Cedi was appreciating. Maybe it was good news, but he really wanted to understand the true level. He asked the people who matter, and they told him that it's between 10 and 12. What have you been seeing so far? In fact, this year, if you look at the strength of the Cedi, its best level came in June of 2025, again in the second quarter. June of 2025 is when the Cedi saw its best level, $1 selling somewhere at 10 Cedi 23 pesos. If you look at it on the Bank of Ghana rate, so the blue is the Bank of Ghana rate, and red is what you see on the commercial, sometimes what people call the black market. So Bank of Ghana, even when the Cedi was performing, had its best level, 10 Cedis 23 pesos to the dollar. In the black market, you could get it somewhere around 11 Cedis 98 pesos. Then we came to the worst level of the Cedi this year. It's not this time, but rather it occurred somewhere in February of 2025. Some few days after the president was sworn in, the Cedi witnessed its worst level in the year, where it was trading somewhere around 15 Cedis 55 pesos according to the BOG's interbank data. And if you go to the black market around that time, it was trading 16 Cedis 65 pesos. That is the average that you could get. And so if you compare this to where we are currently, many will say that, well, although you can see some level of depreciation, we are not at the level where the Cedi got to its worst level. Currently, what we are learning is that if you go to the Bank of Ghana's interbank rate, is trading around 11 Cedis 95 pesos, and black markets, you could get on average 13 Cedis 85 pesos. So this is where the Cedi is currently. But the most important thing, or the conversation that has become so important, is what Bank of Ghana is doing. Many are asking if Bank of Ghana has lost control. And this will explain to you why we are at the level where we are and why many have said that this is coming from internal. Because currently, import bills are rising. People are importing ahead of the festive season. But there's something that the IMF told us in their last review, the fourth review document that we saw, and that was that Ghana was faced with large forex inflows and rapid accumulation of foreign assets. BOG conducted repeated and ad hoc forex intervention for about $4 billion US. And it didn't just come this year. The range that the IMF gave was that it was between October of 2025 and April of this year. And according to them, this was the reason why, one of the reasons, or significant reason why we saw that appreciation in the second quarter of 2025. So the IMF gave that range, that the injections or the pumping of dollars in the system didn't start now, but it started between October 2024 and April of 2025. Remember, I told you that in the last quarter of every year, the cedi gains some level of lifeline because the government comes to the market to provide, forex. But it's also important to put across that if you look at how far we've come, and one thing that is putting a lot of pressure on the cedi is our import bill. We are importing so much, and if you look at the first half import bill, you can see from 2022 to 2025 has gone up significantly, where we've moved from somewhere around 6.5 in 2023, now 8.2 billion just in the first half of the year. And we know that in the second half is when more importation comes, and that is why you're seeing pressure on the cedi. So many have said that if this should continue, you could see Ghana's import bill hovering around $16 billion by the end of the year, which is a big threat to the cedi. But one thing that has tied the hands of the Bank of Ghana is that they have signed a document with the IMF to introduce a new policy that will not allow it to come into the market as frequently as it used to come in the second quarter. So although you may be having inflows from gold board and remittances and cocoa, Bank of Ghana at this moment, because of the IMF policy, may not be able to come into the market to intervene. The governor has already said that it is not a sin to come into the market to provide the dollars because already they are meeting, their international reserve requirement. But at the moment, what we are learning is that if you look at the first quarter, the Bank of Ghana had to pump in 1.4 billion to actually keep the cedi stable. But at the moment, they cannot do this as they did in the second quarter because the IMF is concerned about that level of intervention because they believe that you need to allow the natural levels of demand and supply to determine the true value of the cedi. Currently, nobody knows where the cedi will end the year. But what we are learning is that, the cedi is going through some level of depreciation at the moment. But the governor said that this is just a blip and it will be corrected soon. How soon it will be corrected, MFA, I don't have that answer.
Thank you so much, Kofi, for putting it into perspective. We're also, John, you stay with me right here, just so we need some clarity. We'll come to you. But we're joined as well by Dr. Jabil Mohammed, economist, senior lecturer from the University of Ghana Business School. Doc, thank you for joining us. I'm sure that you have seen the reports, the Bloomberg report. You may have also seen the report by our inflation rate as well. First of all, give me your initial comments when you saw the report from Bloomberg.
Well, thank you. Good morning to you and good morning to all our listeners, MFI. In actual sense, when I saw the report, I realized that there is something fundamentally wrong. In a sense that at the start of the year, at least we have it close to 15.5 cedis to the dollar on the interbank exchange rate and about 16.8, 16 point something for the black market. In as much as we may see that as a worse situation, you can actually sense that given the reasons that your presenter has just given, you will realize that significantly it is about the pressure that we are now receiving. That is how come that the dollar is not, the cedi is not actually doing very well. I think the governor of Bank of Ghana, or the Bank of Ghana in general, has put in place certain pragmatic measures in recent times. In as much as we may have a significant influence in terms of our remittances, in terms of our cocoa, etc., there is also the chance that we need to improve on our productive capacity. That is what can happen to allow us to be able to have the cedi in a more stable manner. Otherwise, if you continue to rely more on imports, as we saw earlier, about 16.2 billion in the first half of the year, if the trend is going to continue that way, it means that by the close of the year, we are going to be doubling that, which means that we will need a lot of reserves to be able to cater for that. And if you are not able to bring in more dollars to be able to cater for that, then we are going to have a bigger challenge in terms of the performance of the cedi. So it's the performance in the last 1 month, about 13.4% loss in the cedi value, as against its performance in the other quarter, about 40% of appreciation, which means that at least we have about 22 or so percent still outstanding in terms of the value is appreciated against the last time. We still have that value outstanding. So we need to put in pragmatic measures to ensure that we don't have a depreciation above what we have gained earlier on. Otherwise, all the significant gains that we have made are going to work.
Sorry to cut you, but you mentioned that the BOG governor is implementing some pragmatic measures. Can you educate us on that? What are these measures so that if we see them going down, deteriorating, we can talk about?
So one of the things they are doing now is that he's trying to prevent dollar pricing. He's saying that we should not price our school fees in dollars. We should not price several other items in dollars. We should stick to the cedi value of it. We should not be pricing in dollars. And you recall that most of the international schools in Ghana price in dollars, and even in mortgage facilities, or even in the pricing of houses, people price them in dollars. Even lands, etc., they are priced in dollars. If you go to East Legon Hills and other places, all the homes that are built by real estate companies are priced in dollars. Even people rent in dollars. Why would you be living in Ghana and be pricing in dollars when your cedi is the legal tender of the legal tender? Why should you be using another person's currency? If you do that, you are indirectly trying to dollarize the economy. And we are not a dollarized economy. We are not abandoning the cedi to spend the dollar. So let's focus on pricing our items in cedis rather than pricing in dollars. When you price in dollars, what that means is that people are going to be looking for the dollar to come and pay you, which means that it's going to give us unnecessary pressure on the cedi, when in actual sense, you don't need to do that in your local currency. Because I remember a friend he's dealing with real estate. He decided to buy dollars. Then I asked him, why are you buying dollars? He told me that he's going to buy some land in Kumasi, and for that matter, you want to hold the dollar. You are in Ghana. Why don't you price the land in Ghana cedi, pay with the Ghana cedi, instead of putting an artificial pressure on the cedi when we are not going to import anything outside?
Well, Doc, stay with us. I think that you share the sentiment of many as well. I'll come in studio, but do stay with us here. Prof, I know that you have seen the Bloomberg report extensively, and you actually, it was one of the things that was on your heart when you started. You have just seen the breakdown as well. My question really is that, and not just me, many people watching are wondering, it's just 5 months when Bloomberg actually just rated the cedi as one of the best performing currencies. And in 5 months, we're here that it is the worst performing. People have said that worse is rather a harsh statistical word to use. Do all the factors or the methodology that they used really arrive and amount to the fact that it is indeed the worst performing currency?
Months ago, government communicators rushed to celebrate. And some even call it a proof of the government transformation agenda, if you remember. The real question is, how many times will Ghana celebrate currency victories when those victories are not backed by hard work and productivity, but rather on borrowed dollars from the IMF, the World Bank, and a few reserves. How many times are we going to celebrate currency victories? You know, I'm on record to have said, let's give credence to this administration when we're recording the gains. And people were saying, well, let's give them PP. I said, no, they are in charge. Let's give credence to them. They've done well. So that when the table turns, or it flips on it, the story flips on its head, there will be the same people that must receive the criticisms. I said that. Bloomberg crowned the Cedi as king in May 2025. It called it a disaster in September. This is not coincidence. The truth is, Ghana exports raw commodities in a form of gold, cocoa, timber, and import everything else. All right? We propped the dollar, the Cedi, by the borrowed funds from the IMF and the rest. That's what we do. This kind of confidence is not built on productivity. It's a rented. And rent will always expire. And that's what we are seeing today. Whenever we ignore reforms and we turn reforms aside and we celebrate victories, this is what happens. The country, this administration, had a lot of reforms in terms of policies. We are yet to see implementation of one. Ajumara, 24-hour economy. That will turn the story around. Increase productivity. Reduce the import dependency. We have not done that. I was happy people were talking about interventions of the BOG. What intervention? It was the same institution that told the government that the real value of the Cedi must be 10 to 12. IRPP critique and said, no, the BOG having a lot of intervention in the system. Per our analysis, we calculate about 4.4 billion in terms of dollars injection into the system. IMF confirmed 4 billion. We had come out earlier on to have stated that. We're chastised. Now, it took external factor, external agency to tell you, look, reduce your intervention. And I saw one of your news outlets that the BOG said, now we have reduced our intervention. So was it true? The same institution advising the government, the Cedi is supposed to be around this range. What are we talking about? My point is that policy reforms are not optional for this administration if we want to take control of the dollar.
It's the only way we can stabilize the dollar. It's the report, the Bloomberg report suggests that the high demand for the dollar and the Bank of Ghana's continuous inability to supply it for importers or exporters.
But now they cannot do what they used to do in terms of the interventions. And remember, around this period, and I was happy what the research guy said, from September or from August down, that is where there will be a demand for the dollar will go up because people will have to bring products from outside for Christmas festivities. What will happen to the dollar?
But Prof, when does it shift from government interventions to pressure by virtue of importation? Because we're told of the impact of the gold board in stabilizing the Cedi. The gold board hasn't gone away, it's still there. So when does it shift from being a government-induced appreciation to an import-driven depreciation?
The gold board is still there operating. Are they getting the go to buy now?
Yes, we're told by the records.
Rate. Haven't you heard people are not happy with the rate they are giving to?
Oh, I've heard so.
Good. So in effect, what will happen?
Smuggling.
There'll be smuggle. Because in the market, they have a price. The gold boss say, I'll buy at this price for you. Naturally, people will find a way of moving away to get the black market to sell. That's what happened.
No, but
so what the one that say interventions, I don't expect, of course, naturally, BOG, sometimes they do intervene, but not to this level. What we are saying is that we have opportunity as a country to enhance our production, add value to whatever we send outside. Fed wants to cut their rate. If they decide otherwise, there will be repatriation. There will be huge issues. So we should not rush in celebrating currency victories. I mean, who does that? Focus on your reforms. Interventions. When you say interventions, my issue is that boost export, add value to whatever. Gold bourse is not existing only to buy and sell. They are to establish refineries and add value to the gold. Have they done that?
Oh, they are just about some few months in office. It takes
No,
some time,
when you say some few months, that's why I have a problem.
Okay.
When they were having the successes, who told them they had a few months?
Okay.
They were celebrating.
The refinery.
Yes.
But even the Prof, you have also said that even those successes were artificial.
I said that. But
so that
on records I've said, yes, if they want to give it to them. But my point is that beyond the optics, beyond the celebration, please focus on your reform policies. That is the only time we can add value to what we are doing. We export things in a raw state. The timber, the cocoa. Why can't you add value to those ones? We import everything else. What should we do? You see, when a government spends 6 months in office and it performs well, it gives a signal that the rest of the years will be good. So let's sustain the momentum. Where we've got into, we have no option. This 24-hour economy, we cannot keep that policy in a room again. It must come out. It's been in the room for long.
It must be unleashed there.
It must be unleashed to save the situation for our country.
The 24-hour economy.
We should not be rushing celebrating currency victories. I mean, who does it?
Wonder, Prof cites the 24-hour economy, but we're also aware that the amount of money needed for that policy, the implementation of that policy is quite huge, and the funds that they have made available, they have said, experts have said, is woefully inadequate to be able to start off or implement that policy. This policy that Prof is pointing out, and do you even agree? How do you feel about Bloomberg's rating?
I think the ratings have been with us for many, many years now. It's not for me, it doesn't mean anything. All it means is that Ghana as a country, we need to focus on what we're doing. When Bloomberg said that we had made we had done what? We were the best performing currencies. It was all over the news. They've said another one. It would still be all over the news. But the government is focused on doing what they are doing. In any case, are too much in a hurry to discredit. When Prof stated that some time ago, he told people, and he's on record to have said that they should celebrate the NDC for the currency appreciation. So that what? This is where my problem is. So you were only pessimistic and waiting for the day that there will be a blip.
Because he knew, it's sarcastic, because he knew that gain was artificial.
Well,
so if you didn't see it, cut through the sarcasm.
Call it artificial. But I am a Ghanaian. If something artificial makes the economy good, I'll be excited about it. I won't be waiting for the day that there will be a blip. Now, we are also told that around this time, that's the last quarter of the year, there are a lot of imports. I mean, this is where import is actually, heavily driven, and there's a lot of pressure on the cedi. In one breath, we agree that around this time, there's pressure on the cedi. Number two, but we are refusing to agree that around this time, there's always constant depreciation of the cedi around the last quarter of the year. That is record, that is historical record. If you check from 1957 to today, in the last quarter of every year, the cedi depreciates.
It's rather unfortunate. Yeah.
No. We're talking about. I'm coming. You are talking about fourth quarter. So the third quarter, which is June, July, August, right? Yeah. And we're still in June, July, August. We're still within the time when there's a pressure. September. So the depreciation started in the previous month.
It depreciates in the third quarter.
Yes.
And then the final quarter.
In the final,
it gets a lifeline.
About dollars, and then it goes by a kind of, correct.
Yeah, but that lifeline, as indicated, did not mean that the cedi appreciates. It only stabilizes.
Right, that's actually appreciates.
By what margin?
If you check the last 5 years,
yes,
majority of the appreciation we've seen have occurred in the fourth quarter. Especially looking at the fact that in the fourth quarter, the Bank of Ghana injects more dollars. So, for instance, in the last quarter of 2024. The bank injected $2 billion in the system to keep,
So despite business owners wanting more dollar to import in that quarter of the year, the Bank of Ghana injects so much that you do not feel the depreciation.
Exactly, in the fourth
quarter. No. And even though people want dollars, it is not in the last quarter that they do the import. Because
this is the period.
It's actually in the third quarter. Why? Because in the last quarter, if you import in October, when would the goods arrive? By the time it arrives, the festive season is over. Okay. So the import is actually done.
Yeah, the pressure comes in the third quarter.
Yeah.
But the lifeline is in the fourth quarter.
But are we still in the third quarter?
Yes.
Yes.
So Wanda is correct then.
Yes.
Unfortunately, my time is up. Unfortunately, Wanda, you've had your time.
On the gold issue.
Time is up, you've been fair.
But I think that's exactly Prof's point. Yes, I believe we can celebrate, but whilst we celebrate, we should also be doing the things that would.
Why do you want to defend Prof? No.
But I stand by what Prof is saying.
Prof should have been optimistic, not pessimistic.
No, it's not about a factor. I stand by what Prof is saying, because without putting in place policies, deliberately putting in place policies that will aid in import substitution, because we can't go on with this import substitution. Then this trend that is killing our economy will go on. That's why some of us have issues with, when you came into power, you scraping the 1D1F. Because you see, there are good policies. Probably the implementation was wrong. So you could have done an audit of some of the policies. And it's not about the human being.
Well,
it's not about the human being, because we all know that unless and until we have policies that can bring about impact substitution, then what we call artificial will be happening. So,
unfortunately, our time is up.
This one district, one factory you brought is a low one.
No, it's not low.
No. I mean, I hate that we have to do this now. Our time is up. Unfortunately, we're able to talk about the inflation.
What is happening in 24 hours?
I live, what 24-hour economy?
What is happening?
I've given the power to Prof to ask you that question.
So there's no, we now have time.
I'll give it.
Listen, the 24-hour economy, no, the 24-hour economy is not an event. You see, this is where the problem is. People are thinking that 24-hour economy will happen overnight. But it's a process. It's a process. And we need to fix energy. We need to fix transportation. We need to fix imports. We need to fix our roads.
Exactly.
The 1D1F you came
you could have taken to be created. Even 1D1F is a system to be created.
So you could have taken your time to do an audit and correct the wrong.
It was not government that was leading the factories.
I think we also need to make the point that
let's listen to
2 weeks ago, the president was in Japan and in Asia. I mean, using that trump card that the cedi was the best performing in the world to sell Ghana to the world.
Yes.
Some few weeks later, it has a different, twist to the whole thing. And then also another question we need to ask ourselves is, the rate of the dollar, does it really reflect how our economy can actually absorb it, especially when you've paid bondholders about 9.9 billion Ghana cedis what would they use that money for? If they don't have, they can't buy T-bills because the rates are low, they will definitely go and chase after the less dollars in the system. So that's another conversation that maybe we need to have another time.
Kofi, you're amazing. Prof, unfortunately, our time is up. I better get 30 seconds, please.
To avoid the brief glory we're enjoying, as against long-term humiliation.
Right.
We have to be
Right. Thank you for joining us on our big stories, both big stories and the news review. Prof. Isaac Boadi, Dean, Faculty of Accounting and Finance. You find him at the University of Professional Studies. Wanda Madilo, such a wonderful man this morning. Development analyst and member NDC Communications, was wonderfully stubborn this morning. Andrew Apia Dankwa, lawyer and spokesperson, Movement for Change. And as well, we had Dr. Jabil Mohammed, economics senior lecturer at University of Ghana. Doc, thank you so much. I was unable to come to you, but this is definitely a report that we shall revisit, definitely. Thank you, but do stay this more on the show.